Hi, and welcome to episode 11, 2016. We are talking with Alice Chin on the Alice Chin podcast. Alice, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing amazing. So let's get into 2016.
Yes, let's do it.
Where are we in 2016?
So in 2016, if you remember, the housing market was still recovering and new home sales were up about 12%, strongest performance since 2007. And then existing home sales were up 4%, strongest since 2006, right before it crashed, as we all know. And inventory was low, not as low as today, but it was still low at 3.5 months of inventory or so. Okay. Surprisingly, I had to kind of refresh the statistics and refresh my memory a little bit. So back in that year, my team closed almost 41 million in volume. Nice. Just to kind of, it was really good, really good. But our average sales price was $345, which was super low, actually. Yeah. So we were churning out the units, a lot of units. At that time, I still had my main admin, and that was about the last year that she worked for me virtually. She was transitioning out of the business. And then I went through that year alone, at least 7 or 8 other members. So that year was a huge year of transition for me. It was the first time that I actually started to dismantle the team because I realized, in the spring of that year, that financially it wasn't working out. Right. I had too much overhead and fixed expenses and not enough income or revenue to support it. And then the agents were, as we've talked about in previous, episodes, the agents were not. They were kind of almost just bolt-on agents. They weren't fully integrated into the team or into the model. So they didn't really use the admins as much as they probably should have. Yeah. And so it wasn't a or interdependent system. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So. Yeah, it's funny you're saying this because every time we talk, I relate. We're actually dealing with that exactly at this moment.
Oh boy.
Yeah, where we've split up our group into 2 teams.
Okay.
And so we have I call it A team, B team. It doesn't matter, but at the same time, the production side of things is where we have a really solid foundation. But I tried meshing with a B team and finding that their wheels are kind of falling off on that.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. So similar. It's very interesting. So it just messes with you emotionally.
It does. Yeah.
How'd that go for you? Like, as far as, you're producing, you're staying focused, but then all of a sudden you have all this other noise factor that you have to worry about.
Yeah. There was a lot of attrition. So some team members left on their own accord. And the business wasn't for them, or it wasn't anything personal, and then other team members I had to let go, as I've mentioned, because it just wasn't working.
How does that work though? Like when as a commission person, right? You're basically self-employed as a real estate agent.
You are. Yeah. You're 1099. You're an independent contractor.
Like, how's it?
Yeah. So because they're an independent contractor, we still had an agreement. That was one thing I did do right. We had a written agreement.
Oh, good.
And so, basically if they weren't meeting their metrics, if they weren't providing their end of the bargain and the team was providing ours, then I sat down with them. I did give them multiple warnings. So it wasn't as if it was like they were blindsided, there were several conversations, of course, and meetings before the ultimate one where, and I let them down nicely just to say hey, I don't think this is a good fit. It's not that I'm firing you or letting you go, but I just don't think it's a good fit, and I'm pretty sure that you're feeling the same way because of X, Y, and Z, or this is, I've noticed these things.
Right.
And typically, most times they agreed. They were like, this isn't working out.
No pushback.
No,
I got what
really.
It takes. You
deserve me. No, not really. So, it had been long enough. I think I honestly felt like I dragged it out too much because a lot of times, a lot of my current team members would say this too. I'm just too nice. I just kind of let things coast too long.
Yeah.
When I really should just, make a clean cut. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm thinking you're not serving them well as a leader if you're not being truth and love, right?
Correct.
You're treating them with dignity, but you also have to hit them between the eyes, because it might like jar them to the point where like, oh, I do have to fix things.
Yes,
and then
yes.
they become successful afterwards.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. Yeah.
Did any of them rebound and become successful after they left?
I would say out of this entire list, let me try to see here. No, I don't think any of them are still in the business. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. There's one agent who's still in the business.
Okay.
But I think she might be sunsetting at this point, like nearing like retirement, which is natural. And,
sure.
Of course. And then, there is one admin that is still, that's another story for another day, but she is still an admin, but for somebody else, in the city. Okay. And then other than that, there's Britta, my BFF, my partner in crime that, was with me for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And then she decided to get out of the business,
Yeah.
We parted very amicably, and then that's it, really, out of this list. Everybody else is no longer in the business.
Well, that's great. I think it's one of the hardest things to do is just to be honest with somebody that's not doing well.
Correct. Yeah.
But there's what I'm realizing right now. There's a lot of personal stuff outside. Did you have a lot of personal stuff that?
We had a lot of personal stuff that kind of like started, bleeding into the business, right? And so that's the year that I decided that I needed to kind of not only rebuild the team, but almost like reset myself as to what I wanted the team culture to be going forward, what I wanted it to look like and feel. And one of the things, and it's still true to this day with my team, and I know that personal things happen all the time. Like I have personal things. I'm a person, right?
Right.
But I tell my team, and this is one of our like fundamental tenets, if you will, right? Is that, yes, we all have our baggage, right? But before you come in the door in the morning, okay, to work, right? Or to work on a client file or whatever, to work with a client, go into a meeting with a client, right? You leave your baggage at the door. You can pick it up on the way out. That's my philosophy, and they know that. Am I perfect? No. There are days where like I try to leave the baggage at the door, but it, filters in, and same with my current team members. But I think we're honest with each other, and we kind of give each other grace too, because we've known each other for so long now. My current team, we've been together for 6 years. So we have that understanding of, okay, yes, this is our philosophy, this is our culture, but of course, things happen, and we're human beings. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. So dismantling. So what, like, I want to kind of like unpack the part where you said, I created a new vision. Did you have to get outside of the real estate office, or what? Like, how did you figure that out? Like, what was the light bulb?
Well, a lot of it was talking to my husband, honestly. I had to go over with him. I was very vulnerable. As I said in a previous episode, I was in a really bad place financially. And before I got myself there, it happened so fast that like, in the normal seasonality of the business, as you know, Bill, like during fourth quarter, the quarter we're in right now, and first quarter, typically, there aren't a lot of closings, right? And so you need to kind of be a squirrel and save up until the next spring market hits, and then you start getting that next wave of closings. And so the thing is, the expenses, the fixed costs kept going, and I didn't plan ahead. I didn't look ahead, and I didn't think, okay, well, if I don't have a closing after X day, am I going to be able to make it through until the spring?
Right.
And I was still only 11 years. I know it sounds funny, but I was still only 11 years into the business, and I hadn't like figured it out quite yet, if that makes sense. Sure. And so I was still kind of like playing it day by day. And one of the things was during that fall of 2015 into spring of 2016, I miscalculated. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? Mm-hmm. So by February, March of 2016, I was feeling it. I was feeling the pinch, fixed costs were still there, but the revenue hadn't come in, because we were coming out of the winter season.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I spoke with my husband. I was very candid with him as to where the business was. And he helped me through it, as he always does. So he kind of took me through, okay, let's jot down, let's make a spreadsheet, all of your business expenses, right? Like, what is your actual number per month that you need to keep it afloat? Okay.
Yeah.
Then we went from there and said, well, what can we cut out? What is actually not required, like must have, right? And so we started cutting things out. Okay. Just canceling things that wasn't getting an immediate ROI, right? Yeah. And then he said, like, your biggest expense is payroll, payroll and supporting the agents, because, even if the agents weren't closing anything, I was still paying for marketing. I was still paying for photos. I was still paying, all the things that you pay for, and the payroll, the admins, right? So he was just like, you have to make a decision, Yeah. So you have to try to increase revenue. And by that, he's like, you have to step in more and do more of the business you yourself, because you know that you can convert, right, to increase revenue immediately as soon as possible. And then you have to decrease expenses in the meantime as well. And so that's what I did. Yeah.
Wow. That's and for anybody who's watching, that is gold. When I started thinking about creating my own company last year, my brother, who had been in the business, he's 13 years older than me, and he said the first thing you want to do, and I realized this and took it over to where we're at with my branch as well. You rush to profitability first. The most important piece of the equation is accounting. If you miss the accounting, you will miss it completely. As good as you can be as a salesperson, that's the most important. You have to be able to count the money. And he mentioned, he goes, do you know what the most expensive part of a business is? I go, no. He goes, bodies.
The people.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
For better or for worse. Yeah.
You don't realize it until you're in the middle of something like that. You're like, oh my gosh, this person is actually taking, because I think the world that we know, like that knows us and thinks they know us in our world, they think that we're just straight commission. So it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah. And we make so much money. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're naming it because you have marketing expenses. You have like everything else.
Everything that like just keeps the business running, right?
Right.
Like right now, utilities, right? Like, so I pay obviously utilities in my building.
Yep.
I pay myself rent, right? These are all expenses. I'm trying to think of all the things that people don't typically see. We have to carry E&O insurance, which is very hefty, right? Mm. We don't get health insurance, as you know, right? So we have to cover that.
Right.
So there's just a lot of things that people, I don't think people they just don't see. People who are outside of the industry, they just think that they see the big number and they don't understand that it gets chopped up into a million different pieces before we actually receive it in our pocket.
Yeah. And I think the other thing you kind of want to put a sidebar on is, loan officers as well as real estate agents that don't have the risk of the full umbrella think that they can do it. Yes. And you've clearly stated that it's not as easy as it looks.
It's not. It can snowball really fast and get out of control really fast. Like you think, oh, everything's going great. I'm doing all these deals. I have all these closings. And you feel secure, like almost like a false sense of security. Sure. And then all of a sudden, the seasonality of the business or the market could take a turn. Something could take a turn. And then you find yourself in this type of position. Yeah.
Wow. It's like, And we just had a coaching meeting in Cleveland's 4-day event called Partners Coaching Partners. And I did a wealth management class that they had, and the questions they asked, okay, why are you here? And I said, I want to stay in the black.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it'll come up and just creep up on you. And I'm doing the same thing exactly. It's just amazing how we're talking. All of a sudden, every time I talk to you, it's like, oh, I'm dealing with that actually right now. So to make sure that we can get through the winter, I'm driving home with my loan officers that you guys got to get out there. Everything you do now is going to be your income for next year. So the squirrel analogy, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then, so now I've, figured it out more than I did. And then also I made a lot of changes. So my business coach at the time, I think I've mentioned this before. He said you need to ask for your financials from your bookkeeper every single month without fail.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you need to review them every single month, even if it's for 10, 15 minutes. Just take a look, see what is, if everything's okay, or if anything needs to be adjusted, or, oh, we don't really use this anymore, but we're still paying for it. Those sorts of things, right? And then just do a cursory check of what we call the 30, 30, and 40.
30,
so
40.
30, 30, 40. Yeah. So your gross profit should actually be 30%.
Okay.
Okay. Your expenses should be about 30%, no more than that. And then your net income, the bottom end of the line, at the bottom of the statement, should be as close to 40% as possible. That's when you know you have a successful actual business.
I like that. That's really good.
Most real estate brokers, I would venture to say, they probably don't know if their financials are 30, 30, 40. And if they do know where their financials lie, I would say probably a good majority is not anywhere close to that profitability, the 40% mark.
Right, right.
They're probably at 10, 15, 20, Mm-hmm. So it's not, that's not sustainable. And then if they were to want to go to sell the actual business, right, later, it would be very difficult because it's not actually a profitable business, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. We said it's one of the things they drove home was having a money tracker. So every month you have a money tracker. What's coming in, what's going out, and did you hit your dashboard, which is exactly what you're talking
Correct.
about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's just great wisdom for anybody that's looking, whether it be any type of business. You have to be able to budget and monitor that on a monthly basis. If you're not doing it, you're going to lose it.
You're going to lose it. Yeah. And then you're going to quickly veer off course, which is what happened. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this was in March.
Yep.
And so you dismantled it in March. From like January to March, you dismantled your team, and then
yes, I dismantled it it was like February, March, if I remember correctly. And then March was a really tough month because I had my second arbitration that month. Oh. And that is a very interesting story. That year was actually quite painful, even though numbers wise, it looked like, oh, she was very successful. Her team was very successful, right? On the surface. That was a very tough year. I think I got very ill around that time in March, but I had this arbitration case. So the story starts where it was actually a past client of mine. I had worked with almost all the members of their family. I had worked with, I think, his brother, his sister-in-law, his other sister, I worked with pretty much 4 members of the same family. Yeah. Okay. And I helped them buy their last home. Okay. They didn't need to sell in order to buy this new one. Okay. And I had been showing them homes. We started working together. And back then we didn't need to sign anything, if you remember. Now we do. Yeah. And I had been showing them homes, starting back up to working with them for about 2 weeks. Okay. And all of a sudden I get a phone call from the wife. And she sounded like she was in a panic. And I was like, what is going on? And she said, I think we've made a big mistake. And I said, okay, can you tell me what happened? And she said, well, we went on Zillow and we started clicking things. And we requested a showing for house. Oh, no. And I said, okay, did you see the house? Yes, we saw it with the person who we clicked on Zillow.
That guy.
That person. Yeah. I'm like, oh no, Yeah.
Okay.
So then I was like, okay, is it a problem because you now like the house? So I'm not trying to put it together. Right. Yeah. And she's like, yes, we want to make an offer. Oh shoot. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, just hold on right now. Okay. I know you like the house. Let me give the listing broker, because I suspected it was probably the listing agent. Okay. Let me give the listing broker a call. Let me just see, okay, what his position is, okay, and then we can go from there, but I don't want you to lose out on the house if you really like it. Okay. So I call the listing broker and I try to assess. It wasn't him that showed it. It was a teammate of his. And so I try to assess the situation, like how much time was involved? How did they get connected? I even asked him, did your teammate ask, are they working with an agent? Because I don't think they would have lied. They would have said yes,
That's etiquette.
Exactly. Right? Or are you pre-approved? Those are the 2 fundamental questions you ask, right? And I don't think he ever asked those questions. He just, saw the lead and just met them at the house, right? So he said, no, I don't know. I don't know if you asked those questions. And I said, okay, well, given that he spent probably 2 hours at most, right, of his time, I can offer him a show fee, right? And I thought it was very generous. I said, I'll offer him $500 for 2 hours. Okay. Would that be okay? Like, these are
hourly rate.
Yeah. And I was like, these are my clients. Like, and I explained the history. I explained everything. Okay. And he didn't even like think about it. It was live on the phone. And he said, no, absolutely not. Yes. He said, I insist on a 50% referral. I mean, crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So then I said, well, no, that's ridiculous. You know, like, are you for real? Are you serious? And he says, yes. So I said, okay, I mean, I'm not going to argue with this right now with you on this topic because they like the house. And I said, and you know that, I'm not telling you anything confidential. And I said, I'm going to schedule a showing so that I can see the house today with them. And then I'm going to submit an offer and we're going to just deal with this later. Okay. Because I didn't want to be the reason that they didn't get the house.
Right.
That's like fundamental rule number one of agency. Yep. Okay. So I kind of explained it to the clients. I didn't want them to worry. Okay. So I didn't really get into it with them. I just said, here, we're going to go see the house. You're going to see it again with me. If you still want to make an offer, I will write it up today and I'll represent you on the contract, everything, you know, and we'll just go through it. So that's what I did.
And this is with the team. So their team, the listing agent is the teammate of the buyer's,
the
buyer's
person
agent.
who showed exactly.
Just awkward altogether.
Super
so
awkward.
It wasn't like a different real estate agent.
No,
it's the whole team.
Super awkward. Yeah. And so to make matters worse, it was a dual offer. And so I knew I was Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the whole thing was super awkward. Okay. So I had to put on my best game face, try to win them the house, right? Jeez. All the while thinking I'm probably never going to get paid. Maybe. Okay. Who knows? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I do all the things. I write up the offer and negotiate. The house had an in-ground pool. So not only did it have a regular inspection that I was there for the whole time, I was there for the pool inspection. I think it was also on well and septic. I was there for like 3 different inspections, Bill. Okay. I was in that house. I don't even know how many times. Okay. I did the final walkthrough. I essentially did everything that a buyer agent would have done.
Right.
Okay.
And the other guy was nowhere to be found.
No. And then when it closed, we didn't get paid. I was with Cole Banker at the time. Okay. We didn't get paid. Yeah. So then that's when arbitration, at least at that time, you have to file within, forget if it's within 3 months or 6 months. There's some timeline, okay? And so we thought that they had to file, but then we found out that actually, no, we had to file because we're the ones claiming that we didn't get paid, if that makes sense. Yep. So we did file in time. And then I went, okay, I asked my client to show up and be there. And this was the one mistake that I made. I didn't prep the witness, right? Like, you're supposed to prep the person that you have coming to vouch for you, right? And I didn't. Okay. I just thought like the pieces would fall into place.
Yeah, they know me.
And she would just say all the right things, like, you know. And so the panel was, I think I was really not set up for success because let me kind of explain. The panel typically, I think, for arbitration is 5 people. For some reason that day it was only 3. Okay. So like my odds are like not great. Okay.
Right.
So because they have to vote at the end, I'm sure. And yeah, so I have to kind of convince 2 out of 3 versus 3 out of 5. Right. So then, I had everything documented, you know, as best as I could, meaning I had, my calendar entries. I had the tours of the homes like saved, like all my emails back and forth with them, showing how long I was working with them. Proof that, you know, they were my longtime past clients, right? I worked with everybody in their family, but it didn't matter because at the end of the day, the panel basically said, well, you could have made all that stuff up. You could have just put it in your calendar. And it's like, well, why would I do that? You know, and I clearly did all the work,
right?
You know,
right.
And they, at the end of the day, unfortunately, they awarded the entire commission.
Come on.
Yes. It still irks me to this day. And whenever I see that agent's name, like the team lead, I just like, it's not a great feeling because it's like, you could have just settled this amicably. And I remember telling him this, Bill, on the phone. I said, are you really for real. Like you're going to do this right now. And I said, you and we've been, even at that time, I was like, we've been doing this, both of us, for a while.
Right.
And we're going to continue doing this for a while. We are going to meet up again.
Right.
We're going to cross each other again at some point.
Yeah.
And this is how you want to handle this situation, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in our world, people don't realize how it's big, but it's small. Yeah. Like reputation, even as it's more so on agents, because like a loan officer, I don't deal with loan officers, right? But you deal with agents, and agents have to deal with you. Yeah. If you don't have that rapport or somewhat of a good name in the industry, it's just, I mean,
your reputation's all you have.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, that was terrible.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Yeah.
But when you look at the numbers, you probably double, tripled their volume anyways, right?
So interestingly enough, I think he had a falling out with his business partner, like a few years after that.
Usually that happens, right? Yeah. Common denominators there. Right?
Yeah. Personality differences, maybe, perhaps, or whatnot. And, but I mean, unfortunately, I think he's still doing fairly well.
Yeah. Well,
it's okay. Yeah.
Well, I know, like, based on our conversations, I will not be calling on that guy. I mean, we've both been doing this long enough to know that you want to work with people you like to work with.
Yes,
like you don't want to
nice people.
Yeah, and you're also an extension of those people too. So do you want to be like I heard somebody say, be careful who you hitch your wagon to, right?
100%.
So be careful on that.
100%.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, make sure you know the person.
So this was in March. All that went down in March. Oh my gosh, what a crazy first quarter.
It's really crazy.
Okay.
And then that's also the year that my listing on Hazel, I can talk about it now because it closed maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That's when the Hazel saga began. And I call it a saga because
wow.
I had the listing not for an entire 5 years, but I was the first agent, and I was also the fourth agent.
First agent, fourth agent. So you came back in the mix.
I came back. Yeah.
Came back. That
made a comeback.
Hence the saga, right?
Hence the saga, yeah. That was a very complex situation. And I don't know. To this day, I hope I wouldn't wish that on anybody, even my worst enemy, because it was like everywhere I turned. I don't know if the owner really genuinely wanted to sell. I mean, that's what it comes down to, honestly. And so then every single thing that happened in that saga, it was almost like from a TV show. Like, it wasn't real. Like, instead of like normal communications, right, between an agent and a client, phone, text message, right? Yeah. The seller decided to message me on Snapchat.
Snapchat?
Yes.
I was thinking like WhatsApp?
WhatsApp?
Yeah,
no, on Snapchat. Okay.
Right.
Then I was like, why is it? Then
so Snapchat was out back then. just say, was this the first year?
No,
okay,
this was like the third year, fourth year.
Okay,
yeah, like when I came back into the fold. Okay.
Yeah.
Then instead of, and this, it could have been because it was during COVID. I mean, I don't know, right? Instead of calling me or emailing me, I don't know, something normal, the client decides to slip me a note under my office door.
Really? That's kind of creepy. Is it? Am I wrong or no?
There were so many things about this time period. Yeah. Anyway, so it finally closed, but 2016 was when it began, and I had no idea what was about to happen or unfold over the next 5 years, essentially. Yeah.
So 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
5 years. Is that the longest one you've had?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Like the longest.
Well, you don't want to promote that.
No.
But there, like, that just tells you. Like, as I'm listening to you through this whole process, you have character and you basically have perseverance and persistence. Like, yeah, and I think that's amazing to hear. And I think a lot of people want to hear that too. I mean, that are going through these tough times.
Yeah.
Because it is tough right now currently.
It is. You know? It is really tough. And sometimes, I mean, I look back, sometimes you also have to know when to throw in the towel. Like, honestly, if something similar were to happen now, I don't know if I would have stuck it through all of the times and years, you know, like if it was a different house and a new, client. And I'm not sure actually. At that time I had the patience apparently. Yeah. But now I'm older. I'm not sure, Bill. Yeah.
I'm the same way. And I keep telling, so these are stories that you're kind of leaving a legacy, a professional legacy, right? Mm-hmm. So like, these are stories that you can tell younger agents, and also on my team, I'm like, guys,
it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
You're losing deals because you're trying to save the world with one client.
And also your sanity.
Yes.
You know,
yeah, you're going to get burned out. Yeah.
Yep. And then like, instead of spending time with the people who are most important in your life, like your family, your kids, your spouse, you're then pouring all of your time and energy into something that may or may not turn out, right? And just for what? Just for money?
Yeah. What's the price? What's the price tag there?
Yeah.
Right?
Money, or for the satisfaction of saying like, I was, number one, or I was the best. Like, I always tell people, is that really what you want on your tombstone or on your urn? Yeah. Like when you die?
Yeah. You can't take it with
Number
you.
one agent? Like,
yeah.
No, that's not what I want.
Right.
Is that what you want?
No. Do you
want to say best loan officer in the world?
No, but as you're a competitor, right?
Yes, okay. Yes.
But that's how we think. That's why you questioned me on, because you saw it in my face.
You got to switch it though.
You do.
There's a flip that needs to be switched.
So at that time, were you there where you could switch it in 2016? No. So you were driving.
Oh yeah, 2016 and 2017. So from 2014 all the way to 2017. I was definitively the number one agent in my office, okay, out of like 200 and some agents. Yeah. And I was definitively, by data on the MLS and all that, the number one agent in Naperville, okay? Yeah. But, so on the outside, I looked great. Perfect. Everything's fine. Alice is amazing. And then on the inside, I was dying, like a little bit at a time. Yeah. It was literally probably the worst year. One of the worst years. Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. We're like, is this a future episode that we show where the transition is, or what do we talk about that right now?
Yes. It's a future episode. Let me try to think like when it would be. I think it honestly started when I rebuilt my team the second time in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get there. We'll get there for everybody's listening.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Wow. These are good. This is a good one.
Yep. And then I have one more thing that happened that year.
All right.
I know. Not that
plot
was
thickens.
That was
the saga.
Yep. Right. I changed brokerages that year.
Oh.
So it was in September of 2016. Okay. So not that like the spring and all of that, chaos, dismantling the team, the arbitration, not that wasn't enough, Bill. So I decided to throw just pack it in. Yeah. And that was pretty traumatic at the time, because I had left a brokerage. I had left Coldwell Banker, which was a brokerage that I'd been with for 11 years.
That's hard.
Very hard. I had built a lot of good relationships, a lot of good rapport. I present tense. I loved my managing broker at the time, and it just crushed me. I think it crushed her. And because I couldn't tell her, like ahead of time, like it was one of those things where I made the decision and it was like kind of a gut decision. And then I had to move secretly in the night, because otherwise, how it goes. Like,
I did that.
I wouldn't get any of my stuff. Like, it's not good.
I did that too.
I had a full office. Yeah. I had a full office. I mean, I had a really big, it was 2 offices combined. So there was like computers, equipment, furniture. Like, it was not just like, oh, I'm just going to pack my bag and go.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, in our industry, for anybody that's listening that doesn't understand, you don't have a 2-week notice
no.
in our world.
Yeah, no.
It's just
not
like,
out. Yeah.
You're out. The decision's made, you're done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so like, if you don't have your stuff, like then it causes this awkward, like, well, when can I get my stuff? And then there's, I don't know. So there has to be a lot of planning that comes into play, right? Telling clients, but not telling clients, because you have to ride that fine line. You can't be like, well, I am moving, because it hasn't happened yet. You don't want to break license law, Right. So there's like language patterns and things that you can say, right? To say, if I were to move, these are your options, sort of thing, right? And so I had to make all those calls, do all that planning like weeks ahead of time. And then we did move in the middle of the night. And it was pretty chaotic because I had to move over. It was something to the tune of like 35 listings. I'm not even joking. I had to move in the night.
35
yes,
listings.
It was a whole production because if you can imagine.
What month was this again?
It was September, end of September.
Okay.
So like the listings are signed with a brokerage. So
Right.
like for every single one of those, the seller then had to reach out to the first brokerage to say, I want to cancel because I want to go with Alice. Okay. Yeah. So then they had to sign the cancellation paperwork. The co-banker had to agree and sign because they're on the agreement, right? And then we had to sign new paperwork with the new company. So it was that way for all 35 listings. I mean, it was nuts. Yeah.
Did you have anybody that didn't want to do that?
There was.
Okay.
You're leading me up to, hey. So there was one. It was a big one. It was one of my luxury listings at the time. And unfortunately, I regret it, but it caused a huge rift between my managing broker at the time, the one that was leaving.
Okay.
Because they, for whatever reason, they didn't want to go with me. And I took it personally. Again, I was still in that mode of like, everything's personal, right?
Yep.
So the agent who took over, she was innocent. Okay. I have to say, she's very nice. I don't think she's in the business anymore, but she's very sweet. And so she's an innocent party, but they wanted to use my photos and my video, like all my collateral, right? Marketing collateral. And I said, no, you're going to have to get new collateral, right?
That makes sense because you paid for it.
And they didn't wait until I told them an answer because it was the same day. They just used them. So I reported them.
Oh.
And it's an automatic fine. Like if you steal somebody else's photo, I don't remember what it was at the time, but it's an automatic fine. Like they don't, mess around.
Right.
And so she got really mad. The managing broker did. And basically was like, shame on you, like, why would you do that? And I'm like, because I told you no. But you still did it anyways, So it just, at the time, we're long past that now. Like we've reconciled, everything's great. But in the moment, it was not good behavior by me or her, really. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, yeah. So
it's good to be self-aware.
And
you learn from things, whether it's good, bad, or ugly.
Just, not shame on me, but I should have just been the bigger person and let it go. Honestly, like it's not a big deal.
Well, under the year, the circumstance of the year, I can understand. Like, okay, there's always, it could be a result of like all these other bigger things, and then
and then I just like.
It's like, this is the cherry on top. Seriously, come on.
We're like, that's it. Now, like, Crazy Alice comes out. Yeah.
The question I have, though, like, so 11 years, and, like, was it part of the dismantling of the team, and that just happened to be part of that package of going to a new brokerage? Or, like, how did that, what made you make the decision there?
Oh, to go to a new brokerage?
Yeah, like.
I think I just felt that I needed a change. How, have you ever felt, Bill, that like, like you've been doing something for a while? Because I've been there for 11 years. Yeah. And it just was something about it was making me feel like I needed a change. And to be honest, it wasn't moving fast enough for me. Like the technology and the marketing and things, like things weren't changing fast enough for me. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And I just felt like I needed something different. And I don't regret it. I mean, I think it's what I needed at the time. I'm not with Keller Williams anymore, but it is what I needed at the time. Keller Williams did teach me a lot more about proper team structure, financials, like a lot of like the basic business things that I already knew, but I needed to be reminded of. Mm-hmm. And needed a refresher on. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the biggest question, because there's a lot of people out there that are probably thinking this right now. And the question to ask yourself, if nothing changes, can you stay here? Mm-hmm. And usually the answer is no. So that's when you have to make a decision.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's where I was with, like, it was my brother's company.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I would always say this, can you stay with it being the way it is? Because we don't know if it's going to change.
We don't know if it's,
And he left before I did. So like, I always make a joke that I was more loyal to his company than he was, mm-hmm. But I think that's a big question that anybody wants to ask, because there are those stagnant times
There
in our
are.
career.
There are. And if I'm being honest with myself, the last year that I was there at Coldwell Banker, I was already feeling, I mean, before that, for the first 10 years, I mean, I bled blue, like I would never leave. That's what I said to myself, I would never leave.
Yeah.
And then for the last year that I was there, I just started noticing that the industry was changing. It started to change. Things were moving faster. There was a lot more like technology coming out, things coming out, and I didn't feel like I was on the edge of the change. It felt behind almost. Yeah. And so I just was like, I don't like this. I don't like the way that I'm feeling. I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball almost. Yeah. And so that, to be honest, for the last year that I was there, I was feeling that way. Yeah. And I was looking for something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. This is a pivotal moment of your career. This whole year.
Very pivotal year. Yeah, very challenging. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else 2016 brought?
No, I think that's it. Yeah,
okay.
I think that's the most of it. Yeah.
Well, this has been enlightening, and I've actually learned out of all the episodes we've done so far, this one really hit home for me. So I really appreciate you and just being transparent. Like, it's been fun to listen to your story and journey, and we'll get to the next year and the next episode. So thank you again.
Thanks, Phil.